So learning to enter commands. AutoCAD is a very advanced and complex program with hundreds of commands, as I've mentioned. Even though we might not cover all the commands, and you may never cover all the commands, if you can think it up, AutoCAD can do it. So it might take a little bit of research if you're really looking to do something specifically. But just keep in mind that AutoCAD is such an advanced program that, again, if you can think it up, it can probably do it. What's also particularly helpful is that, as we saw before, with each tool, if we just place our mouse on it, that AutoCAD comes up with an explanation of what that tool does. So it's pretty easy to get to learn the program because it comes up with these, explanations. So it doesn't really try to hide anything. Okay, it doesn't try to make anything tricky. It wants you to use the program as seamlessly as possible. So it's really helpful in starting to explore the program. Now, starting with AutoCAD 2012, they've changed the way that you can enter a command a little bit, okay? And that's basically that because there's so many commands and because it's a bit hard to try to figure out what the command is, and you might not know what it is without looking it up, is that you can start to type in, let's say I just hit C to type in, for a command, let's say circle. And if you just type in a letter, okay, it will come up with a list of the commands that it has programmed that start with C. So you could actually go down the list and try to find what that command is. Okay, I'm going to hit escape. So if you don't know what a command is, you can essentially look through that list and you can guess what it is. Now, the structure of AutoCAD, and you'll find that with AutoCAD there's many different ways of doing something. Okay, so the structure of AutoCAD to allow us to enter the command can be done in essentially 3 different ways. Okay, the first way is by clicking the toolbar button. The second is by entering a command, and then the third is by using what's called an alias. Okay, with each of these commands, okay, typically it has an alias, which is usually 1 letter or 2 letters, in order to allow us to access the command quickly and easily. So for the first one, we can type or click on the tool button, okay, to get the command. Now, if I hit escape, escape always exits out of a command, okay, and you can always see that if AutoCAD is looking to type a command, that means that you're out of a command. You'll see that if we're in essentially this waiting mode, okay, AutoCAD with the crosshairs will have a square in the middle. If we're in a command, so again, if I click on the tool button, you'll see that that square goes away, okay? And you'll see that it's also asking you to specify the center point and the radius, etc. So this is where the command, is asking you information by your cursor. That's basically controlled by this dynamic input. And as I said, a lot of people, what they do is they stick with this dynamic input and they get rid of this command line because essentially it's redundant. Okay, you'll see that in the command line it's asking the same thing, so that essentially you can have it in 2 different places. Now, so that's the first way of doing it. If I hit escape, as I said, that gets me out of a command. Okay. The second way is by entering the command. So I can type in circle. Okay, it doesn't have to be case sensitive. I don't have my caps on, but you'll notice that when I do start to type it in, it does go from lowercase to uppercase. It doesn't make a difference if you do it either way. Okay, it doesn't make a difference if you enter your commands as lowercase, all lowercase, or as all uppercase. Okay. But what we'll see later on is that when we start to look at options, there is a difference between the lowercase and uppercase, but we'll see that in a little bit. The other option is just by typing the alias, okay? The alias for circle is C, okay? As you can see here, as I just typed in C, and it has in parentheses circle, okay? These aliases you can also change, in the program as well. Again, I'm not going to go into that, but if you find, like a lot of people find that C is easier for copy, okay, as opposed to circle, because you tend to use copy more, you can change those. So, you know, people will play around with that a little bit. Again, you know, in order to customize the program and how they work with it for their own personal use. So if I type in C and enter, okay, that also does the same thing. So that's using this alias in order to also get the command. And you'll find that with certain commands, it, you know, it does significantly speed up the drafting process. So to start off with, you know, we can start to focus on the tool buttons and the shortcuts, you know, at the same time, and get a feel for it. Now to activate the command, so if I hit escape, okay, again, I'm in resting mode. It's waiting for a command because it's telling me to type a command here, and I also have a square in the middle of my crosshairs. To activate the command, okay, again, AutoCAD has 3 different ways of hitting enter. Okay, so the first one is by hitting the enter key on the keyboard. So I can type in, let's say, if we use the alias, I can type in C and enter. It's going to allow me to get into the command that way. If I hit escape, okay, again, that gets me out of the command. Another way is by hitting the space bar. Okay, so keep in mind, and this is, you know, kind of a tricky thing when you first start to work with it, is that space bar is also enter. So I can type in C and space bar. We'll find that when you want to type things in and you want to hit spacebar, it can tend to screw you up a bit because the spacebar means enter. So you'll find that when you start to work with AutoCAD, a lot of things are either one word, okay? So if something that should be like 3 separate words is now one word, okay? That's because the spacebar means enter. Or you'll see it in underscore too as well. Okay, so you can also type in the command, and you can hit spacebar. Okay, and what you can also do is you can right click. Okay, if you right click, so I type in C and right click. Okay, right click is also enter in AutoCAD. You know, and the other way of doing this is just by clicking on the toolbar or the tool button, and that'll also get you right into the command. So there's a few ways of doing it. Okay, and again, it's just about comfort and getting used to working with the program and being, you know, kind of finding the way that you want to work with it. Now the next step in getting to know your way around the program is to understand how to navigate within the model space. So given the fact that we draw everything at full scale, okay, so model space is always at full scale no matter what. It's an infinite space. It goes on forever. If I'm drawing something that needs to be 1 foot, I'm going to draw it at 1 foot. Okay, so the scale gets a little bit of, it's a little hard to get used to at first, okay, but you'll pick it up very easily and very quickly since you're going to be using this program a lot. Now, given the fact that we draw everything at full scale, the model space, as I mentioned, is virtually infinite. So there's a couple ways that we can move around this space, okay? And they're the 2 main ways, and one is panning and one is zooming, and you can use your mouse with that. So for example, by holding down the wheel of the mouse, okay, you'll see that your cursor turns into a pan hand, okay? And what that does is it moves around the model space. As you can see, my coordinates in the lower left are also moving. So what this does is it just moves your view location. It doesn't move anything that you draw in the model space. It just moves where you're viewing it. Okay. The other way to navigate is by zooming. Okay. And essentially, you can zoom in and out by scrolling up and scrolling down. You know, it's hard to see now because we don't have anything in model space. Okay. But when you start to use it, you can either zoom in and out, or these are also commands too. So I can type in P for pan, hit enter, get that same pan hand. Okay, it looks a little bit different. Now the fingers are more spread out, as if I just grabbed it from my mouse. And then again, hit escape to get out of that. Or you can type in Z for zoom, okay? And it'll give you some options. And we'll get into those options in a little bit later. But what you can also do is you can also use your mouse. Okay, so if I double click on the center wheel, I can also zoom to the extents of my drawing. Again, a little hard to see, but you'll see the advantage of zooming to extents when we start to work with AutoCAD and have objects in our model space. To begin with, what we want to do is we want to start to draw to scale, okay? Because obviously, we need to work with a scale when we start to draft. Now, if you notice down with my coordinates, they're actually in decimals, okay? And that is typical, okay, for starting off with, AutoCAD. It's actually a default setting. So what we need to do is we need to change our units to feet and inches, okay? And to do that, we need to go into our options, okay? And we need to change the unit options, okay? And we need to change them to the ones that we're going to be using. So I'm going to type in units. Now keep in mind this is not the same as the real options, and we'll probably touch on that a little bit later. But to change the units, we want to type in units, okay? And we don't even have to type in the full word, okay? I can type in UN, and if units is right here, okay, I can either click on it or I can hit enter. And what this does is it calls up my drawing units, and you'll see that right now the type is decimal, and you'll see that sample output, it shows it in decimal. So what we want to do is we want to change this to architectural. Okay, we're going to be working in feet and inches, and that's our architectural scale. And it's going to set the precision. 16th is fine. You'll find that when you start to work, there are different precisions for different trades or different tasks. So pretty much 16th is fine. We're going to keep our angle in decimal degrees. Okay, and you'll see that this changed, so you can see that it did change to feet and inches. Everything else is fine. Don't change any of this. That might screw us up a little bit later, especially by changing this, so leave that as inches and then hit OK. So really this is the only thing that you should be changing. Click on OK. You'll see that my coordinates have now changed to feet and inches, and now we're actually ready to start to draft.